all set to go.
Welcome back to the CONVO Couch, everybody. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue's on the ones and twos. And in the studio today, we have a community leader, a fearless social environmental justice advocate, running to be the first Afro-Latina elected to represent Los Angeles City Council District 10. We have the wonderful Aura Vásquez. How you doing today, Aura?
Hi. I'm doing great. Thank you, guys. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you for having to coming in again. I know you have a tough race ahead of you, but you are one of the leading progressive voices in our local community. So, it's very important to give you a platform because not enough people pay attention to city council races. But we've seen people like Kashama Sawant in Washington do big things against corporations like Amazon. It is very possible. This is where it all begins. Is as city council. So why city council over anything?
So I believe that politics are always local. And I actually believe that this is where we can really enact change, right? We see what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Mm-hmm. We see what's happening with our presidential elections. We see what's happening within our Democratic Party.
Yeah.
That they're like reject, they don't listen.
Yeah.
And they, and they keep kind of shoving in our throats certain people that might not be the candidates of the people or the candidate that is best, has our best interests at heart.
Absolutely.
So local politics are so important. We are we're in the middle of a homelessness crisis.
Yep.
Yeah.
And guess who can solve that?
Who?
Us here in the city council.
Yeah.
First responders.
Yes.
We are in the middle of a climate crisis.
Yeah.
Guess we also who can act on climate?
Ooh.
We
Us here, right?
Right now.
In the room.
Absolutely. And we see that the high cost of living and the lack of affordable housing is pushing people out of the streets and also out of our city. Yep. Where, we are in a car-centric city, which that's one of the things that I'm trying to change as a councilwoman. I'm committed to that. To make it a people-centric city, not a car city. People are driving a lot more because they can't afford to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And that's really causing more pollution, that, emitting more.
It's all connected.
And also, exacerbating our climate change. And, you see fires, this is not just happening just because.
Yeah. I say when you talk global, you got to act local. One of our boys said that. But let me ask you a question. Let's talk about your opponents. Mm-hmm. Who are your opponents? Who are you running against? And more importantly, why should the people of your district vote for Aura Vásquez?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're 5 candidates right now. Everybody's very eloquent and great, I believe. I think a lot of you know Marley Thomas, who is probably the one that has the most name recognition.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's been a supervisor for many years, and he was also a city council member in a different district than District 10. He also served in the legislature, and he's the candidate that is going to be the establishment candidate. The candidate that wants to warm up the sea because what he really wants is to run for mayor, and that he can only serve for 1 term. So even if he had the best intentions to serve, he couldn't. So, this is one of the candidates that we have.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about where follow the money, right? We follow the money. Where his this focus is. Who's he being backed by?
Yeah, so the majority of his contributions come from developers. 60% of the contributions come from them. He's somebody that is managing a $26 billion budget as a supervisor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are waiting on their investment that they have made by supporting him and donating to his campaign. He also takes money from the fossil fuel industry, and yesterday the Sunrise Movement released a wonderful video where they talk about him in one of our forums, saying that basically he will not refuse fossil fuel contributions, that he will take them. And, they did further analysis and found out all of these sources where he's getting money, including some of the largest fracking and oil extracting drilling companies in the country.
Okay.
Not to say that he also takes money from the Republican Lawyers Association, from the director of the Republican Lawyers Association. And I think it's ironic that the Democratic Party here in the county endorsed him because, he takes money from the Republicans. So,
What does
are we
that say
thinking?
about the state of the Democratic Party, though?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sadly, I think that there's a lot of wonderful people in the party. I just don't know if we're going to continue with this establishment mentality.
Yeah.
We're going to continue getting the same people, and we're going to continue seeing the problems that we see in our communities.
Yeah, and you said the Sunrise Movement talked against him. Didn't the Sunrise Movement endorse you?
Yeah.
I remember seeing a beautiful poster. Miss Ahora Vásquez endorsed by the Sunrise
That's
Movement. What do you
The
tell us about
Sunrise, the
that?
Sunrise endorsed me, and that was a very proud moment. Also, the Legal Conservation Voters endorsed me. They're incredible group that has been fighting for a Green New Deal, and I'm well committed to continue that fight on their behalf and on behalf of all of us, that we
Yeah.
need a much more sustainable
Yeah.
world that works for all of us.
I think that's a thing too, fam. A lot of people think that, global climate change and whatnot, that it can't be made a difference on the local level, but
Right.
it can. In
Absolutely
fact, I
can.
think you've said before, it's just as important on the local level as on the national level to really combat climate change.
Well, because you have more control as a city council person. You guys have more of an ability to make things happen, at least for your city. You don't have to wait on
Right.
the rest of the country to do
And
that.
it's more personal.
Right.
If you fix my street, maybe I have a disability. That's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
If I don't have enough trees in my neighborhood, that means that my neighborhood is not as safe. And it's also not sequestering carbon from the air, so it's more pollution there, and
Yeah.
it gets warmer when it's hot. So, these are the things that we can see firsthand in our community.
Yeah.
When city council acts on these global issues that are really local issues.
So what about your other opponent, Mrs. Yoon? Is it Y-O-O-N or is it you?
I think it's YOO.
It's
You.
Y-O-O.
Yeah.
You. Okay. What's up with Mrs. Because it seems like it's going to be it's a 3-horse race is what a lot of people are saying. With you being the 3 candidates,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ridley Thomas, Lisa Yu, and you. What's up with Mrs. Yu? I mean, where's a lot of her support? When does she get her money from? Do you know?
Yeah, so she gets a lot of money from the small businesses in the district, and such. Of course, the Korean community,
Yeah.
the Korean community that doesn't reside in our district, but they're business owners, they're homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of Koreatown is actually Latino.
Yeah.
In population, but they're the business owners. They own their homes that they rent to Latinos that are in a lot of times low income.
Yeah.
So she gets a lot of money from them, and she doesn't support the minimum wage.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't support the $15 minimum wage because for the small businesses, she probably feels like it's conflicting.
A lot.
Yeah.
The other thing is that she's a lawyer that has been fighting development, and I am also pro responsible development, but I also want to see our unhoused community getting housed first.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that they find a home. It's inhumane, and it's not a good economic move for us as a city to have people sleeping on the streets. It's just not a good public health. It's got a lot of issues, and she opposed one of the shelters that was being built in Koreatown.
So yeah,
And
that
The bridge housing.
Bridge
so
housing.
that is something that is very specific to me, because the She Does movement, Maltala Karatni, us local people that are for bridge housing, for building affordable housing, low income housing, are very passionate, and we went to the city council to speak on behalf of that.
Right.
So she was one of those people that stood against it. So they're coming in from it like, oh, we need to support small businesses, we need to support developers. How can you support small businesses while at the same time helping the working class get a livable wage? How do you do that?
Absolutely. And actually, as a policy platform, I actually believe that $15 is not enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we need to actually advocate and fight for $20. And I propose for us to increase the minimum wage up to $20 by 2025. So that is an increase, right? We're in 2020 in 5 years.
5 years.
$1 is the least minimum we can do to support our communities,
Yeah.
and to support people that are struggling, paying for the high cost of rent, paying in a city where we have to drive, and it's costly to maintain a car.
Yeah.
I mean, owning a car, and where we have a public transit that is not yet
Efficient, yeah.
ready, efficient,
Yeah, it's not,
fast to get us where we need to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I support an increase on the minimum wage to $20 by 2025.
Okay, that's important too. Well, let's address some of the issues that we hear, some of the rumors out there, some of the people talk, the criticisms of Vásquez. One of the biggest criticisms we heard was the fact is that you're not from around here. You haven't lived in this district a long time. Now, to me, that means something, but it doesn't mean everything.
Right.
What do you have to say to those people who say, oh, what are you just kind of moving in here and you're seizing an opportunity to run in a district you haven't lived in and you can't really represent?
Right, absolutely. And, my family and I came to this country 25 years ago from Colombia. So I am an Afro-Latina immigrant. And like a lot of other immigrants in this city, I came to the United States on the pursuit of a better life for me and my parents and my brothers as well. So, and I was not born in this country, but I came to California actually to learn organizing. Because when we first came to this country 25 years ago, we went to New York, and I went to school in New York, and I worked for a Congress member there for Engel Elliott. And that's when I really learned that I hated politics. Because just seeing how, the inaction, how it's slow, going from committee to committee, and, really not seeing results.
Yeah.
I was like, definitely, this is not the place for me. And I went to work in different nonprofits. I work on education. I worked with schools in New York City. And then when Obama was running for president the first time, and he was a community organizer, I was inspired to learn more. And that's how I ended up in California. So my first home was in Koreatown.
Okay.
And this was over a decade ago. And I ran for a neighborhood council. So I became soon the vice president. I was the secretary for the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, where my intention was always serve my community and learn more and be of service.
Yeah.
And I tell you guys a story that is this is a good story. So in those days, I moved to LA and I noticed that not a lot of people will come to the neighborhood council meetings.
No.
Certain people will come and the same old people will come, but not a lot of members of the community. So what I decided to do was put a lemonade stand in the corner in my home. So every Saturday I will have, a little table with some lemonade and some, glasses, and I will have 2 chairs. And I had a sign that said, I'm your representative in the neighborhood council. Come and ask me a question. And I used to live across the street from a school. So a lot of the moms will come and ask me, are you selling tamales? What are you doing here? And I was like, no, I have lemonade. You want some lemonade? Do you want to talk? And actually, this is something that we do in our campaign right now. I do my lemonade stands and I go around in different places in the community and I set up with my little chair and I said, I'm running for city council. Ask me any questions. And, in that conversation. But a lot of people learn about the neighborhood council for the first time. They didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the type of engagement. Now, the reality is I'm a renter.
Yeah.
And as an organizer for many years, I didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was barely making it.
Yeah.
I had to live with roommates. I have to, move because rent is expensive. And just like a lot of other Angelinos that are suffering from this, I have to live with friends. I had to, couch surf sometimes because I just needed to survive.
Yeah.
So I have been in and out the district for the past 10 years, but much committed to work in this district and to serve my community. And, you don't need to be born in this country to really serve this country. We see many veterans that have done that we actually don't even pay back.
Yeah.
We see tons of immigrants serving in many ways in this country, contributing to making it better. And also sometimes we don't even recognize that. So I believe that our diversity is our greatest strength.
Yeah.
And that's what my campaign is about, bringing people together, working together and addressing the real issues that we have in our community.
I think you should bring lemonade next time you.
Yeah, we're waiting for.
Ahora lemonade. So
the lemonade stand and the CONVO couch.
there you go.
So your district isn't the richest area, right? But there's a few middle to upper class voters in it. How do you get those voters to support you? Kind of along the same lines of how do you get small businesses to support you? Because your opponent gets the small businesses. It's not like we don't care about small businesses. I think the problem are the corporations and the developers that overtake that. How do you get more of a progressive agenda in that district?
Yeah, so one of the messages that really resonates across the board whether it's a higher income or a low income member of a household in my district, is the fact that we don't have enough green space and parks in our district.
Yeah.
Across the board, whether you are a low income mom with 2 kids, or whether you are the dentist that lives around the corner from my home, that they're very established, they want to see more open space in a park, because we are one of the most park deprived districts in our city.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one point where you see eye to eye. The other reality is that people across the board in my district feels that they have not been heard. That the government, the representative for the past decade or so, has not been their voice. That we have created a political process where politicians stand here and they're unreachable and untouchable. And we're in 2020, friends, where we can live stream. We can talk to people on social media. We have text messages. This is not 30 years ago when we barely had like big cell phones.
Yeah.
This is the era of connection.
Yeah.
The connectivity, resiliency, and being together. So a lot of people feel that they don't have a way to, they don't even know. So many people message me my campaign to ask me, like, I don't know how to do, like, simple 311 things, simple things that in the app or calling 311 should be resolved. And people don't even know that they have that resource.
Yeah.
So I think we have a long way to go to do a better job to really connect people with the services that are happening. And I am committed and available to be that councilwoman that is accessible to everyone. And that's what I did at DWP too. I was the first commissioner that created office hours ever in the history of DWP, because I believe in a true democracy.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you have to be accessible to everyone, and you have to, and you need to give a space for people to connect with you and for you to hear the challenges and the ideas and the kudos when you deserve them.
I think that's one of the greatest things about Oetta Vásquez. Now, you're out there hustling, but you're always accessible. And that's a big thing. And I also think when it comes to reaching out to those voters, that a lot of progressives miss the opportunity when they do knock on a conservative, the Republicans' household, that they explain to them, like, hey, homelessness is killing your property value too. Let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, I understand that we're more compassionate. We're progressives. We don't want to see these people on the street.
Right.
But we also have to appeal to these people on the right who look at their house as their number one investment and explain to them, hey, man, your property value is going down because we have all these homeless people on the streets. Let's build a bridge housing home over here to get some people off the streets so we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But let's stick on the DWP thing while we're here, because there were rumors out there that while you worked at DWP, that you gave somebody a no-bid contract, which a lot of people pointed the figures at, and they said that's not good, that you can be helping out the elites or somebody within city council or any way, shape, or form. Can you address those rumors that people said, or if they're not rumors, or address the situation?
So let's just talk about what happened.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, I believe in 2015, 16, I was not even a commissioner then. There was a big issue with the billing. And I'm sure a lot of people that live in LA and were around those days remember that some people got no bill, or some people got $3,000. So the bill, DWP was trying a new billing system.
Yes.
And the billing the rollout was messy. So a lot of people turned around, got together, and decided to sue DWP. So I wasn't around on those days, but a lot of measurements have been taking place since then. I believe that we need to make DWP accountable, and DWP needs to work for us. So this idea that I approve a bid contract, this was prior my days as a commissioner.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I have been known for as a commissioner was to be the voice of the people. Reason why I have my office hours. Reason why I always spoke and left everything on the record. If you guys watch my live stream, like the DWP live streams, you see me always saying, like, I just want to leave this on the record because I know how important it is. And as someone that was an advocate to try to change DWP and push it to get off of coal, which was my campaign when I was an organizer for the Sierra Club, to get LA off of coal, I well know what happens internally at DWP. and how it can be challenging, and how a lot of things happen behind closed doors and under the table. So when I came in 2017 and I became the youngest commissioner, the first environmental justice commissioner, they knew that things were not going to go, business couldn't go as usual, because they knew that I was not going to comply. And they knew if something wasn't really right. They knew that I was going to take care of the ratepayers. Why? Because I have neighbors that if their bill goes up by $30, they will be in big, deep trouble.
Yeah.
And on the verge to be homeless too.
Yeah.
That people live paycheck to paycheck. And as much as I support a sustainable future, I believe that there is a way to do it all, because there is plenty at DWP to make sure that we get to 100% renewables, to make sure that we create more jobs, and to make sure that it's transparent and that is accountable.
Yeah. I watch the Vásquez live streams when she cooks. Like, oh, she's making something. I gotta know. That's the live streams I like to watch. So.
But there's a lot of stuff if you want to watch. Like, you can sit and watch me speak, even being tough on my own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I got called, what I like to say, I got called on the principal's office quite often, because I was the kind of person that was going to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not so popular, or like the gas plants, when we were retiring the gas plants. I was the one that brought this up to the community.
Yeah.
Because it was important.
So for the record, you didn't give out a no-bid contract to anybody for a favor?
No, I don't even know the folks that I mean, there's a lot of contracts. If anybody wants to send me a particular contract, I can look into it. I mean, because usually also at DWP, what happens is that you have a consent, like calendar or consent items that you just kind of vote on. But I don't have relationships like that with people at like DWP that I will behave in that way.
Okay.
And on that note, how is your campaign funded? How are you getting money? I know your opponents are taking a lot of big donor money, money from Republicans, as you mentioned, developers. How are you getting your money?
So people like you guys, everyday people that donate $5, $10, $20. One of the most fascinating experiences for me running for office is call time. So the idea that you call people to ask them for money, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating because I love talking to my friends and calling people. So it gives me like a reason to like, hey, how are you? Like, happy New Year. How you been? Did you get married? So it just becomes like this connecting moment for me, which is great. But also as a grassroots candidate, I don't have the community that is going to say, I'm going to give you $800, or, you know, I'm going to, my whole family are going to donate to you. I don't have that kind of reach.
Okay.
So everyday people donate. I will never forget that I had, gardeners, people that are in the service industry, moms that are, clean homes. And they were like, we really believe that you have to help us. And they donated $30, $20, $50. And to me, this is why I really work hard to make sure that our donations go to the right place in my campaign. Yeah. We don't pay big consultants. We don't spend money on things that we don't need, other than reaching voters every day. Yeah. Contacting voters and letting them know that they have a choice, that it's time for change.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about your consultants in your campaign? Do you want to give us a little update on what just happened recently?
I mean, it's interesting because in the campaign world, I'm running against a big incumbent, and I had a really hard time constructing a team. Number one, because my favorite teammates are running shop for Bernie Sanders, for Elizabeth Warren. They're out there doing incredible things. And I am beyond proud of a lot of my friends doing that. But some of the consultants that decided to work with me soon enough got a little, scared and blackmailed and bullied by a big incumbent. It's a big name. And this is not exclusive to them. Yeah. Sometimes when I call people and I ask them for support, people that it should be easy, clear that they would support me. And they have mentioned, like, you will be great, but it's hard for me to support you because, we have this incumbent and he's already stated that, if we don't support him, we're gonna be done, and we're doing, we either want access or influence. So I'm definitely facing a lot of that, being a grassroots candidate that is fighting big money, getting the money out of politics, really being a voice of the people. It's been really interesting process for me to just watch it all unfold.
It's funny that the LA Democratic Party is bullying people, fam.
Oh, I would have never guessed that.
No, you're so going to tell me that they're not using their power to push out a progressive?
How do you reconcile that? Because I believe that's the problem, is like people putting their career and their sort of, I guess, power, ability to maintain some sort of connections in the party over doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the point of what's happening right now in this movement, to try to like get rid of that sort of mindset, right? Political strategy. How do you fight against that?
It's going to take a couple of cycles, and it's going to take getting people like me elected so that we can show that it actually can happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, my campaign is at a grassroots level. It's at a voters level. It's a knocking on doors level. It's making phone calls level. So all this buzz around the bureaucrats and in this world is not the world that I'm operating. Yeah. I'm operating in a world where I know who my voters are. I know where they live. I know how old they are. I know what they cared about, and I go and speak to them.
Yep.
So it's because I only have also so much resources. We have grown a robust, group of volunteers that come out. The Sunrise has been really super helpful. Yeah. The National United Healthcare Workers, a union that also endorsed me, they have been very helpful. So definitely we're like getting out there. And then like the super volunteers that I have that live in my district, my neighbors, people that have heard of me, and they're like ready to go.
Yeah, you talked about the Bernie Elizabeth kind of.
Yes.
How do you feel about that whole situation going on right now with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren?
I
mean, you're a Bernie supporter,
yeah,
right?
I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Yeah, we met at a Bernie event. That's why.
Right. So. It's unfortunate that the media is putting them against each other, because I don't think that this is happening. I mean, I'm not with them at all times or anything like that, but I do believe that they feel that the tensions are not at a personal level. I don't think. I think it's just media trying to make money. What do you think?
I'll let you want to push back first. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say. Well, I think they differ in a very, very, very core way, which is Elizabeth Warren still trying to fix the system and keep the system. Bernie Sanders is actually trying to change the system, and I think that disagreement is coming from there. And also I think she was able to weaponize something, and the media, of course, we know the media uses this to create more and elevate the situation to a bigger thing, like CNN, MSNBC. But I think at their core there is a disagreement, and I think it's becoming more apparent with people like Hillary Clinton, speaking against him. And I think it's kind of a bigger macrocosm of what's happening locally. Locally, these people are coming and attacking you, saying, "Oh, she doesn't support small businesses. Oh, she's a grassroots candidate. I can't support you, even though you're the right candidate, because it's gonna come back at me." I feel like Elizabeth Warren, somebody got to her and was like, "You can't support Bernie Sanders because you need to support Joe Biden." Yeah. And that's what I think. What I think is happening. I don't know if you.
Look at what just happened. 1 second, because you told me once before, and I to bring this up, that somebody said that you're not an Afro-Latina. Right?
Yeah.
Now think
that
about
I'm
that.
not black.
Somebody weaponizing. Yeah. Somebody weaponizing your identity to try to use it against you.
Yeah.
She did that. I don't care what the media did after.
Right.
Elizabeth Warren did that, and then you go and you question everything, where she got her money from, her whole rhetoric, all these things. Who she didn't support when she had a chance to, who she did support when she had a chance to. And I think it's kind of, it boils down to what's going on today, even into your district. If we don't call out the atrocities from these people, these neo-progressives who are not progressive, who are not going to stand with us, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
Because we got to be able to call out the corruption within, and she's just an extension of that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were referring to the whole thing about, like being a woman and in the debate. And I agree. I mean, I agree that the media is definitely exacerbating that. It's just, to be honest, it's petty. that we are in a moment in history in 2020 where at the national level people are fighting because maybe a woman can never win, like he said, whether he said it or not. And then at the local level, people are questioning that, because you're not Black, African American, you cannot run our district.
Yeah.
Where in reality, number one, we need to rise above labels. And number two, I'm an Afro-Latina from Colombia, and a lot of people of the African diaspora, of the African descent, we have the same common, struggles.
Yeah.
It's not different from here than from there.
Yeah.
And just because my African, ancestry is not from this country, it doesn't mean that I cannot serve our people.
Yeah.
So...
And just regarding that, you are Colombian, right? So what is your opinion on FARC and what's going on right now in Colombia?
Yeah, well, the FARC is not something new. The FARC has been around since before I was born. And I was born in the 70s, for those wondering why I'm so young running for office. Without revealing my age, I was not that I care, guys. But
How old then?
I'm 41.
I'm 40. I'm gonna be 47.
You do not look your age.
Not at all.
So the FARC has been long, and there is not only FARC. There is a lot of different militia groups that have been born in Colombia. Here's my issue. FARC has terrorized our country. Now there's some of them are the narco FARC. I don't know if you know who the narco FARC. So basically, they're the ones when the drug cartels got like busted and Pablo Escobar died, and basically they were just basically decentralized.
Yeah.
Because before you had cartels that were kind of running the show, and now when they all kind of started dying because of the war against drugs, which brought a lot of just violence to Colombia. Because let's remember that there will always be a supply as long as we have demand. And the highest demand is in this country.
Absolutely.
So I also think it's a little ironic that this country will send all of those resources and create so much violence in Colombia at the expense of eradicating drugs, where this is the number one country where it's the most demand.
Yeah.
So the narco guerrilla, what they did was to kind of take over. They saw like a space, a need, a void, so they like took over, and it was just a very violent time in my country.
Yeah.
Now, through the political process and trying to create peace agreements and such, the FARC were able to get a spot in our political process, guys.
Yeah.
This is, we're talking about kidnapping. We're talking about people that have terrorized towns. We're talking about people that have taken children and militarized them. We're talking about some serious things happening to a country and to a community that has for decades suffered from violence. And now they get votes and they get to decide what happened to us with no accountability. I personally have a big problem with that.
Yeah. Well, the Colombian government too has got a lot of dirt on their hands as well. They've a big player in this whole charade. But let's transition a little bit more to Venezuela, since it's a neighbor right there. And a lot of Colombian government has a lot to do with what's going on in Venezuela. Do you feel Maduro is a dictator or he's the rightful elected leader? And what should we do about sanctions moving forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So 2 years ago when I went to Colombia, it was just... I don't even have the words to describe what I saw about the people from Venezuela, because in Colombia we have an open door policy for Venezuela. So if they immigrate to Colombia, we'll take everybody.
Yeah.
We'll take everybody. And when Venezuela opens their borders, we send food to Venezuelans, to like our neighbor country. So for me to see people just walking, like I remember my family saying like, oh, they're from Venezuela and they're walkers. And I was like, what do you mean walkers to where? And they're like, nobody knows. They just walk until they can find, like they go to Ecuador and they just walk from Venezuela there. So you see tons of that. You stop on a red light in Cali. I'm from the southwest part of Colombia, from Cali, and they come with bolivarianos, which is their money, their currency, and they put it on top of the windshield for you to give them money because their money is not worth anything.
Yeah.
But to talk about Venezuela, we have to take a couple of steps back and talk about how they got to this situation. Because Chavez was supported by the United States to get elected in Venezuela. Okay, and remember that these are the times where that was happening. Panama also, their dictator there, who they later, the CIA basically killed Noriega. They were all from the same shop, and they were all supported by the United States. So, now we're like, oh, we don't want to get involved. But the reality is that the United States had been in all, look what's happening in the Middle East right now. It's no different. This is like the attitude that this, like, I would say, like, imperial attitude that we, that we often take. So, it's terrible what's happening with Maduro. I don't think I definitely believe that he's a dictator, and he doesn't even have, like, even a vision. At least, like, when Chavez was around, there was a sense of, like, a vision and like nationalism, and we're going to take back our resources. People in Venezuela are dying.
Yeah.
The country is not working. They don't have electricity a lot of times during the day. They don't have running water a lot of times during the day. So it's just really sad what's going on in that country. And to be honest, to sanction somebody, I don't know if that's really the solution. Yeah. But I also don't have the answer of what it is, because it blows my mind what's happening in a country that when I was growing up in Colombia, it was the model country of South America.
Yeah.
We used to go vacationing to Venezuela because it was, like, great, and it had beautiful infrastructure, and people had good paying jobs. And now it's just mind blowing what's going on there.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Well, I'm not gonna. That's a discussion for another time. I think the reason why, and I can tell you why the country is poor, it's sanctions. It's U.S. sanctions.
Oh, because they don't. Yeah, because
that is why,
like what happens in
the American imperialists automatically
in
the beginning supported the Chavistas because they thought that Hugo Chavez was going to give them their oil. But as soon as he nationalized that oil, they turned on him. And since then, we've been going against them, placing sanctions, and sanctions only hurt the poor people more than anything.
I agree with you.
And that's why people are starving. I believe that Maduro is the rightful elected leader. I believe their elections were fair.
Whether he's a dictator or not, I think we need to stay away. We can help Venezuela get food. We can help Venezuelans, but I just feel like Donald Trump, for instance, just recently supported pushing Maduro out to put one of their favorite CIA types in Juan Guaido. And it's like, we should just stop getting involved. You mentioned the Middle East. We killed the leader in Iran, Qasem Soleimani, Donald Trump. And so we're on the verge of war.
Yeah.
And it's like, we just need to stop putting our politics
because
in
war
these
is profitable.
Yeah.
Not for you and me.
Right.
That we're, like, basically in the front lines. This is where we send our kids of color to war to fight for this country. But somebody's making money, and as you know, it's profitable. It's like the one place in our national budget that has the most money. And this is what we do, because the funds got to be moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the reason why we ask you these questions, because even though it's a local district, city council, it's your kids in your district that will be carted off to go fight in these wars.
Absolutely.
And hopefully maybe one day after you have the city council seat, you might run for Congress, and we can revisit these foreign policy issues that are so important. Because I'm not there with you on all of them. You know what I'm saying? Since the time I met you, when you said, "Oh, I'm Colombian," it's like, "Oh, I want to talk about the FARC and the government."
Right.
We can probably talk about those. You're probably not going to agree with me 100%, but you are from that region, and therefore your information
voice
is
important.
It's important.
Of course.
Stuff,
and like growing up, I grew up in a family that was very involved. That's why for me, it's important to be involved. I like, my parents used to take me to town hall meetings. I watched my mom. Like, I saw, many things. The example of my family, and our experience was a very painful time growing up, seeing that, like, one of the things that we loved the most doing as a family was going camping. hint the love that I have for nature. And we stopped going camping because it was unsafe to be in the mountains and going into the river, swimming and doing things like that, because they were very difficult times. So I feel that, and I have a couple of friends. Some of my best friends are this Venezuelan couple, and we talk all the time about what's going on in Venezuela, in Colombia. And they also said, like, it's so fascinating to them how people talk about Venezuela and they have no firsthand experience about how it's like for them as Venezuelans themselves.
That's true.
And as having family there and such.
Johnny loves to talk about Caracas. No, Johnny? Rolling blackout. So nothing else from you, Johnny? No super chats up there? We're good? Did I miss any? Thank you so much for coming into the studio. I think you're an awesome candidate. Still got an uphill battle. When is the primary?
So March 3rd is the primary, and this year in Los Angeles, we're trying a new voting system. So it's going to be longer from February 22nd to March 3rd. You guys can vote, and you can vote from anywhere in the county.
Yeah.
So if you live in Pasadena and you need to vote, you can vote in downtown LA, or if you live in District 10 and you need to vote there, you can vote in Sherman Oaks, per se. So that's happening. In order for us grassroots candidates to be successful and to win, we need our movement to really come and support us.
Yeah.
So I really hope that whoever is listening here considers joining my campaign, and I think we're gonna circle around the website, which is aura2020.com/get involved. So come out, because the revolution will not be televised or motorized. It will be live streamed, maybe. But what we need is more soldiers and people listening to what's happening in our community and my vision for Los Angeles. So I really hope that.
Do we have the picture of Aura with the bike? Can we click on that? Because you got to show that with the bike. I saw you with the week. Listen, you can say what you want about Aura Vásquez.
I got really crafty there.
That was awesome. And here's the thing I'll say about you. You might not agree with you on all the issues. People might not think you're the best candidate, whatever. But here's the one thing I will say about Aura Vásquez. And I can say this honestly. You are the hardest working one.
Oh.
I see you hustling like no other, and I give it you on that level. I don't think anybody has matched your intensity and your sense of urgency out there.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a few things we would probably disagree on, but not.
Of course.
But for the most part, in your core, I think it's awesome, and I'm so looking forward to you getting top 2.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Especially in city council, I think you have the right, you're right where we need to be as far as the environment, homelessness, and getting things done. So thank you very much for coming on.
And accessibility. That is big.
I love that.
Because people hide.
I am so big on that.
Yes.
Like, I go door knocking, and I tell my volunteers that come door knocking, and they said, well, they asked me about this question and I didn't know how to answer. And they already know. They're like, refer them to my social media and tell them, why don't you ask Aura yourself?
Yeah.
Send her a picture. Send
So
her a
important.
message.
Yeah.
She will answer to your questions, because she is that accessible candidate, and she will be that accessible city council woman.
And that's huge, because I'm big on debates, because I believe you can't hide. And the Democratic Party plan, especially in California, is hide, hide, hide. If you're the front runner, get into the shadows. Don't get anything that can be used against you. And to me, that's a chicken shit way of being an elected official.
Right.
Get in front of the people, answer the questions. Even if they don't agree with you, you tell them why. And I think that's something that's great about you, Aura. And I appreciate you coming to the couch and taking the heat today.
Thank you so much, guys, for inviting me. I hope I can return. And then we'll see how it goes on March 3rd. I'm hoping that we will win. We will see it. We'll see it happening.
Yeah, peace, not war. Aura 2020. Thank you very much for watching. I am Pasta Jardula.
I'm Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on the 1s and 2s, and Aura Vásquez running for City Council District 10.
guys.
Help her out. We'll see you in a couple hours, guys.
Combo out. We'll be back.
Bye.